Oh my God. So, we're talking about Transformers today.
Yes.
So to prep, to give myself some prep time driving over here, had to blast some Linkin Park,
I love me some Linkin Park.
Well, the only songs I know from Linkin Park are ones that were in the Michael Bay Transformers movies.
Oof. Okay. So Minutes to Midnight specifically.
I don't know. Is that an album?
That's an album.
What's the one where What Have I Done? Is that one?
What I've Done. Yep.
What I've Done, that's when the Transformers land.
Yep.
I think the other what's the number one? What's the main song?
From that album
Just
or
in
from
general,
Transformers?
from anything.
They have tons of hits, man. They've got
tons of hits.
Yeah, they've got Crawling. They've got In the End. That's probably the biggest one. Everybody's heard In the End.
Even matters. Doesn't matter.
It does nothing even. It doesn't even matter. You got me messed up on the lyrics.
Wait, so you're a big Linkin Park fan?
Huge. I have been listening since middle school. It was a pretty much no skip for me. Both
no skips?
Meteora,
not a single?
Meteora and Hybrid Theory, no skips. I also liked their Linkin Park Jay-Z album, the collab.
What?
I liked Reanimation, where they did remixes
You're
of
just
old
saying
songs.
Things.
I love Linkin Park.
So you're like a member of the LPU.
Yes.
I did some preparation.
You did. You were ready for me.
Linkin Park Underground.
Yes.
Founding member.
Yes, I'll say yes, even though I'm sure a bunch of people are going to flood the comments and be like, I've loved them.
We didn't see you on the forums.
I did see them live. I watched them play live. It was worth it. It was amazing. So yeah, and that goes right into nostalgia.
T-form. Nostalgia, that's what we're talking about today.
Yes, nostalgia is what we're talking about today. We're just going to fly off here.
Flying.
Some nostalgic things that you can think of that really make you happy as far as childhood stuff.
I feel like when stuff that I watched as a kid, I feel like is having this terrible reckoning. The Amanda Bynes show. I was a Nickelodeon kid.
I loved the Amanda show.
There's a lot of stuff. Baseball. I was a loser. I collected baseball cards as a kid, so I was really into baseball. A lot of the things I'm nostalgic for aren't of my time.
Right.
They're things I'm nostalgic for the movie 61 about Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris.
Were you an old soul?
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate to say it like that, but yeah. You probably more normal child, maybe?
Well, I guess it depends on normal because I listen to Linkin Park.
That's normal though. I look at the number of listens and I'm like, oh, they were big.
Yeah, no, for me, my childhood was my turning point of getting into all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I had an older brother. He loved Pokemon and Power Rangers and the Transformer cartoon and he so many things from him. I wanted to be like my older brother.
Yeah.
So I was I was going to watch it too.
Pokemon, I was a huge Pokemon kid. My room looked like Pikachu.
Yes.
Had been disembodied and its guts were everywhere. Baseball is when I started reading comics as a kid, so I got really into comics. But Pokemon was probably the huge one, and Power Rangers.
Pokemon,
I realized I was
Power
lying.
Rangers, Disney.
I like Disney. I feel like the average amount. Not saying that not that you didn't. I just feel like I didn't have this crazy attachment.
You weren't part of the craze.
No,
because I was.
Yeah,
I had my whole bedroom was Little Mermaid themed.
No. Pokemon.
I wanted a Pocahontas birthday cake. I was really into Disney.
No, in preschool when my mom wanted me to be a Disney princess. I dressed up as just a generic knight.
Nice.
So I kind of skipped all that.
Yeah.
But I watched the stuff and I liked it. But so we were gonna try and talk about nostalgia. There's a lot of comics steeped in nostalgia coming out right now. From Dynamite's whole line. We're talking about Thundercats. We're talking about all those Disney books. Space Ghost we talked about last week.
Yep.
Obviously the Energon universe, Transformers, G.I. Joe. And there's some other stuff that we're going to talk about that kind of ties into this theme. And I feel the question I wanted to ask is can books that are their goal is to pull you back into your childhood, right? Can they still be good? Is it a good book, or do you like it because you're having those warm fuzzy feelings of being a kid and watching the Mickey Mouse Club or whatever?
Right. Well, see, that's my whole thing. As a nostalgia fiend, who is chasing that high of youth, of childhood, I absolutely fall into things where it's like, this probably isn't that good, but I love it because it just makes you feel warm and fuzzy. You're like, I'm back to my childhood. So I'm sure there are plenty of topics that we can talk about that.
So I've totally been swayed because so my first comic shop gig, I worked at Chapel Hill Comics, which is super indie underground comic shop. And I was very snobby. I was only reading Image. I was reading a lot of old school underground stuff, and the guys who would come in and pick up Transformers, I always looked down, and I was like,
yeah,
what are you reading? It's garbage. Just because you were a kid in the 80s, and now you're reading and then Power Rangers comics came out, and then I was like, oh, I have no leg to stand on, one.
Yeah.
And two, Kyle Higgins' early Boom stuff was really good.
Yeah.
I thought really well done. And so I was like, okay. So I feel like I kind of answered the question there. But as I grew older, I stopped reading the Power Rangers. So yeah, let's talk about it. Let's start with Transformers.
Yes.
Because I feel like that is what kind of started, or at least when I noticed this wave of nostalgia crashing down on comics, the Energon universe kicking off with Void Rivals by Kirkman, and then Daniel Warren Johnson doing Transformers, and then Josh Williamson, all the talented artists and everyone working on the
right.
G.I. Joe books. But Transformers is kind of the heavy hitter.
Yeah.
So what's your relationship with Transformers? The product, the IP.
I mean, I like Transformers.
Okay.
I'm not, again, if you start quizzing me on stuff, I'm going to be like, I guess, sure, sounds right.
Name an Autobot.
Optimus Prime.
Damn, you got him.
I got it. I can get the Autobots and Decepticons, the main people. But I like I said, I watched the cartoon as a kid, vaguely remember that. And I watched the amazing Michael Bay movies.
Listen, I will say that first one has charm.
The first one has some charm. Was good. I mean, it's rewatchable. I've rewatched it a lot,
I've rewatched specific scenes involving Megan Fox performing mechanics.
Right. On the wind blowing her.
Oh my god, dude! No, this came out. I'm gonna age myself. Not in a bad, but in a young way. I feel like it was in middle school maybe when it came out for me, or maybe a little younger. And I remember guys being performatively obsessed, and I remember guys having that shot we all are picturing of Megan Fox bent over the hood of the car and looking up at Shia LaBeouf. That was every dude's phone screen in 6th grade on our flip phone Motorola's. Absolutely. That was their wallpaper
with the classic Michael Bay lens flare.
Yes.
And
so yeah, that's my only. So my dad was never into Transformers, so I didn't have that childhood. I was Power Rangers because I'm a little bit young for the OG Transformers stuff.
Right.
And so that was my introduction to Transformers, was just the Michael Bay movies. I know I've watched the first two, and then I know enough about the fourth one to know that it focuses, I think it's a fourth or fifth, too much on age of consent laws for me to give it a go. Why? You wrote that. Who wrote that script? Who wrote this?
You did that.
The guy carrying around the age of consent.
Yeah.
I just know that happens.
Well, I
haven't checked that one out yet, though.
I'm pretty sure I watched all of the movies, but I think mentally I don't
blocked it.
I blocked a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. But like I said, so Linkin Park, there's fun moments, and that's all I knew about Transformers is what I knew from those. So Transformers, the book coming out, I don't have that nostalgia that I was excited about, but I love Daniel Warren Johnson, who writes and draws the first story arc. I loved him forever. I think I met him before he was on a big breakout book at Heroes Con. I bought his little Star Wars fanzine, and then when I started working at Ultimate is when Extremity came out, which is this awesome post-apocalyptic book he put out, and that was my staff pick. And then he did do Murder Falcon, do a Powerbomb. He's written so many great fan favorites, which kind of really lead really well into Transformers. So that was why I read it. It was because I always loved Daniel Warren Johnson, and I will give anything he does a try.
Yeah.
And then I just obsessively have read. I haven't read any of the other Energon stuff. I'm not up to date with, but I am up to date on Transformers. What did you think?
I liked it, but again, coming from a nostalgic standpoint,
Yeah.
I really appreciated the nod to like the very retro Autobot Decepticon designs.
Yeah, they went with like the G1. See, I know stuff. I can Google the OG kind of designs from the original.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat. Of course, anytime you read anything with Optimus Prime in it, you just hear Optimus Prime's voice, you know, that famous voice. So, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting. I liked the concept. I thought the concept did kind of shake things up with them, like, coming back to life.
Yeah.
But out of order. So you've still got, like, this tension between them.
And it's an interest, like, you know, he I mean, spoiler, issue 1, killing Bumblebee. Just
oh
immediate.
My gosh, I know.
It's like, you know, like, we're gonna pull some stuff, but listen, we're gonna introduce some new Autobots and new like, maybe you know, Bumblebee obviously is like the most famous one from the Michael Bay interpretation of Transformers.
Yep.
But they're like, listen, we're gonna shine a light on some maybe less loved.
Yeah, they pretty much immediately were like, listen, we know you love Bumblebee, but we got some new people.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, I feel like this was like a true test for me. Like, I went in and I always, like, I had like so limited knowledge. Like, the one that turns into the jukebox, I thought he was good the whole time, Soundwave, because he looks so cool. I was like, oh, he turns into a jukebox, that guy's a good guy.
That guy's gotta be a good guy.
Bad major villain in this whole story arc. But yeah, it was like gripping. I found myself getting emotional, like when robots are dying, I'm like crying.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's just the power of like Daniel Warren Johnson's storytelling in that first story arc. And the art is so freaking good. It's so kinetic, but like so much action packed.
Very
fast paced. But unlike in some of the Michael Bay movies, I can understand what's going on, even though it's two robots fighting. Yeah. I can see which robot is which and what they're doing, which is hard to do when it's all just metal fighting metal.
Yeah, exactly.
And then one thing I really want to point out that I love is just like a specific thing I love is when artists use like the onomatopoeia in comics, like the blam, slam, and they make it part of the art, and it's part of the panel. And yeah, it's got kind of like Simonson styles. Walt Simonson's one of my favorite artists, and when I was reading this, one of my favorite licensed comics is RoboCop versus Terminator, which sounds stupid, but it's written by Frank Miller. It's got art by Walt Simonson. It's incredibly done, and Simonson's use of that onomatopoeia and using that in his art. Miller does the same thing, and Daniel does that in Transformers. But yeah, I mean, art super, like, it's just such a fast-paced book, but you're still getting like emotional beats with the characters. It's got a pretty big cast of robots, but I feel like I am able to glean their personalities.
Absolutely.
It's coming through. And then obviously we're talking about this because issue number 7 drops this week, which is the start of a new story arc, so it's technically a jumping on point. And I know some people were apprehensive because Daniel Warren Johnson, who's been writing and drawing the whole thing, is taking a step back. He's writing it. And they're bringing in Jorge Corona to do the interior art. And I read this issue, and for me, like, it's different. It feels different because it's a different artist, but he captures, like, still, action's great. Honestly, I kind of like, he draws his people different. And it almost, like, the human moments maybe hit harder for me in this issue than some of the previous ones. So, listen, this is coming from someone who has no nostalgia, really. I mean, I like the Linkin Park songs. I I remember watching that first one. I remember, like, the moments I remember, though, are not really Transformers involved in these movies.
Oh, fair.
So yeah. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm actually going to keep reading the book, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was making fun of people for reading Transformers books in my head when I was 18. But you know what?
We come around eventually.
Come around. Here I am, excitedly awaiting the new issue of Transformers.
Absolutely.
Now, so one that you were excited about that we read, that's new this week, from Dynamite Comics, from written by Elliot Kalin, art by George Kambadeus. Very Greek.
Yeah.
Sorry if that was wrong. But George's been doing some of the art on the Gargoyles comics that they've been doing over Dynamite. They did Hercules #1.
Yes, Hercules.
What did you think? You were very excited about this one.
I was. I mean, and again, like, nostalgia for sure. I Loved the Hercules Disney movie.
It is one of my favorites. I mean, the
So
soundtrack
good.
alone, like the songs.
The music is just the muses. The music.
muses.
It's so good.
It's incredible.
I mean, even if you just take everything else away, like the cast, the amazing cast, the amazing artwork, like the music.
There's Meg.
And there's Meg.
I mean,
Megara. Friends call her Meg. That is, if she had friends.
we're friends. I feel like I can call her Meg. Very mean.
Love it.
Love it.
Sassy. I love that for her.
Love that song. Oh my God. As a kid, that was one that I did. Like, I said I wasn't a huge Disney fan, but like, if there's a prize for Rotten Judgment, I can still give you a full-on performance right now.
Oh, and I freaking love the fact that in that song, you've got like the muses as the backup singers to Meg. Oh my God. I could...
We got Danny DeVito.
Absolutely. Danny DeVito. You've got all kinds of people. Amazing, amazing cast in it. I can't see Phil without thinking of Danny DeVito. If they ever...
you want to do...
Even
you want Danny...
try
You
to
want
do,
him in a live action?
Listen, I will not accept it otherwise. If you're going to do a live action Hercules, Danny better be in there.
I want it practical, though. I don't want any of this bogus, cheap CG.
Yeah. No.
The Jungle Books where it's like, it's live action. It's all computers. I want to see Danny DeVito dressed as a little goat man. Practical effects.
But Danny is also really small in general. So, I mean, just throw him in there.
Get
Let him
some
do
fur,
his thing.
Get some, like, Mr. Tumnus looking legs on him.
Philatides all the way. He will kill it. No, but yeah, so I'm reading the comic. As soon as I see the title, I'm like, oh my gosh, Hercules, like the movie Hercules. It reminded me so much of, I used to watch the TV series that were like the offshoots.
The continuations.
Yes. And that's what this felt like.
Yeah.
It felt very much like the continuation of Hercules after the everything happens in the movie.
Yeah.
This is sort of like the adventures of Hercules, Meg, and Phil.
Right.
And I thought it was really cute. It's got that like family friendly cheesiness to it.
Yeah,
They're definitely not taking that edge anywhere. No. It's very straight laced.
Very much like the movie. Like, this is a book you could read with your kid, right?
Absolutely. Which I thought was good because I mean, obviously if you're gonna share your nostalgia with your kids, you want it to be
right
family friendly enough. You don't want them to take a twist anywhere.
See, this is why, like, when I say my nostalgia doesn't make sense, because like my favorite movie in in literally kindergarten was like Animal House and The Warriors.
Wow.
But I didn't know there was a panty raid scene in Animal House till I was like in high school. Like, they did skip scenes.
Right.
But so like that's why I'm like I don't have the same nostalgia for the same
have
things.
The colorful, very colorful kid stuff back then.
But so for me, I wasn't as pulled in by it. I did love Hercules. It was like my favorite of that kind of 90s era animated movies from Disney. But it was you're right. Like, the comic was what it should be.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
It is exactly like hitting that. If you like the movie, this is more of it. It's like he's slaying monsters and doing, very, very myth-based. He's like doing favors for gods and helping them out.
And see, I also love Greek mythology, so
there you go.
Goes hand in hand for me.
But for me, it just didn't and it just didn't pull me in the way I thought it might. Because I was like, well, with Transformers, it pulled me in without me having that root. And Hercules, I kind of have that root of my childhood of watching that movie over and over again and literally performing Meg's performance, like running around the house and like doing that song. But I think it is definitely a great family read. And you dug it. So like we just different strokes for different folks. Am I right?
Family and Britni read. We'll eventually on one of the future podcast episodes, we'll go into Siena's very dark childhood.
Oh my God. There are some movies that I was like way into as a kid that was in some I watched Alien and Aliens way too young because like a name option for me was Ripley. That ruined that. I was too scared to watch like an incredible movie till I was like in college. Yeah. Because I had nightmares for like years about chest bursters. So, there were pluses and minuses.
Right.
And yeah, my kindergarten teacher was a little concerned when I said The Warriors was my favorite movie. But
who hurt you?
They're like, okay. I'm like, I like when the clown baseball gang beats people up with baseball bats. They're like,
Oh.
The feelings lady's right down the hall. But yeah, so I'm really glad it hit for you.
Yes, it hit for me.
And I did hear the voices. Like, I feel like they did capture, like, Meg's voice in particular.
Absolutely.
The sassy quips and the one-liners.
Absolutely.
And, like, the little flirtation between her and Herc.
Oh my gosh, one of my favorite panels. I relate to Meg very much so.
Okay.
I always have. But there was a panel where Hercules says something about his friends, and her instant response was, "Did you just call me your friend?" And I'm just like, her sass is unparalleled.
Knows no bounds.
Yeah, it's so good. And so yeah, it has the feel of all of those characters, even in just the way that they, speak. Phil sounds like Phil in your head.
Yeah.
So it's really, I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Well, one I was very excited about, because I will say I have always loved, everyone knows, I'm a Bugs Bunny. I'm the Bugs Bunny fan. I am a Looney Tunes fan.
I loved Looney Tunes as well.
I have nostalgia. I am, like, the one thing I buy at thrift stores and, like, thrift shows is, like, vintage 90s, like, Looney Tunes streetwear. I have, like, a whole line of, like, weird Bugs Bunny hoodies.
I mean, honestly, the best era for Looney Tunes stuff.
So good.
Such good stuff.
And I have a lot of the work shirts that have, like, Bugs Bunny saying, like, he's bored at work or whatever, and he's like, whatever.
Amazing.
I have a lot of those. So things I'm nostalgic for as a kid: Space Jam. Watched the crap out of that. I had the VHS that came with the silver coin with the cast. Looney Tunes Back in Action I loved as a kid.
That was the one with Brendan Fraser. Right? Yeah.
Probably not a good movie. I haven't watched it in a while, but I don't know.
Nostalgia. Because, I remember it fondly.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is an incredible movie.
Incredible movie.
So I was very excited at Comics Pro to hear about Uncanny Valley #1, which is a new Boom book. It's written by Tony Fleecs. We talked about his Feral series from Image last week. This one he's just writing. And art is done by Dave Watcher, who I was so confused why he was doing this book, because he's an incredible artist. But I mean, like, I feel like the one comic I own from him is like an alien cover, like like we were talking about, Xenomorph cover.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. But then while we were chatting with him at a table, he was drawing the grandpa, the Toon, the main character Toon. He was just banging him out like crazy, and this incredible, very, like, just that era of, like, cartoon style, like, just super perfect, and just whipping him out. And I was like, oh my God, this is great.
So cool.
So, like, the pitch on this book is that this young boy, he's feeling different, and there's kind of hints at, like, the first scene, him and his he's trying to make new friends, and
he's trying to fit in.
They convince him to jump off a bridge, which
you never thought that you would ever have to really be in that situation.
Really, like, the mom is like, this is like
you
literally
me?
the one example of, like, what you're not supposed to be peer pressured into.
And she was literally like, I never thought I would have to think about this.
Like, so his friends, they jump off a bridge, and luckily it's low enough where they just break their legs. But he falls, he, like, very cartoonily slams into the ground where, like, his body imprint is there, and he's got, like, the little birds flying around his head. So you're like, okay. And then, the principal's referring to this, like, fire setting. Like, he set a fire in the cafeteria. And his mom's like, why are you committing arson? And, like, how? And he's like, you're not going to believe me, but I ate something really spicy. And then, like, steam came out of my ears. And, like, there's a fire that starts.
I mean, I have to point out that, like, if I've ever read a comic that instantly gets you with the hook, it's this one.
It's such a fun hook, right? He's very, like, it's like the end of the issue, he has almost this, like, Harry Potter moment, like, you're a wizard, Harry.
Right.
But he finds out he's, like, part Toon.
Yeah.
So, like, we're about to go to Toontown, kind of like in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because he has this relative who is a full-on Toon.
Yes.
And for some reason, they don't like that this, like, half breed Toon human exists. Yeah. And, like, that's kind of, like, setting up the plot. Is there these cartoon people from, like, Toontown or whatever who are trying to capture him and his mom.
Right. Yeah.
So that's it. And then we have, the actual cartoon. I think it's his grandpa, right?
Yep, it's his grandpa.
His grandpa comes and kind of pulls him out and saves him, and we're about to he's about to have his kind of like, his lineage revealed to him. And I assume we're going to go to Toontown and we're going to have this.
Because so one of the assignments in his class was like a family tree, and he shows his mom, and he's like,
one branch.
He's so upset in this moment, which is why it made it so funny to me, because he was just talking to his mom about how he like breathed fire, and he's like, you don't believe me, and then he just like holds up this family tree, and it's literally like a tree with one branch, and it's like, me, Mom.
And Mom's like, that's all you need.
That's all you need. And he was like, I come from a line of traveling nurses.
Yeah, like, what's my heritage?
Yeah.
And then so we find out that it's because, she's been keeping this secret from him. But man, I love the gimmick of the live action mixed with the cartoon.
Absolutely.
Like the Space Jam, the Looney Tunes back in action. I was talking with a friend the other day. We were like, why do we know who Rocky and Bullwinkle are? And we were like, oh, they did that gimmick too. They were like, they were trying everything.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's really cool. Dave Watcher, his art style, like I said, the cover I have from him is like a xenomorph. And like, dude's a chameleon, because it's really fun to see those two art styles, especially like on the same panel.
So
right?
good.
Like,
so that's literally what I was about to say. The art translates this concept of real life versus cartoon world so well.
Yeah.
Because, the boy and his mom are drawn so beautifully.
Yeah.
Like the landscape of the world that they're living in.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then you get the cartoons, and they're so cartoony.
Yeah. And you just get to see it, like the fun, like I said, like the fun gimmicks of like, oh, of course it's gonna have the birds running around.
Yes.
And you see the cartoon grandpa pull out like a real gun and start blasting, and like when his mom tells him to run away, he's real like Roadrunner.
Yeah,
like
the
his legs.
The Roadrunner legs that start going, yeah.
So it's like a really fun concept, and it's very timely to be doing cartoon stuff like this, because a lot of the old school cartoons are going into public domain. So I'm interested to see, like, that's why, like, Betty Boop, I'm pretty sure, like, I think she's out now.
Oh, wow.
I'm fairly sure a lot of those like old school Flesher ones like are starting to age out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see who they could pull in.
Absolutely. I think that would be really cool.
Because one of the interesting things about Who Framed Roger Rabbit was reading about how difficult it was to get the ability to for Warner Brothers and Disney characters to both be and all the old school ones to get everyone to agree to let them use the characters.
And that also reminds me of like Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
When they brought in like Capcom video game characters,
Yes.
I was like, what? Because that stuff has to be difficult to do, to have like these actual name brand. I think they had Mario in there as well.
Yeah.
Like, whoo, it's cool though. I really hope that they can like bring in some. And if they can't, I think they're already doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Of like the grandpa giving the same vibes.
The same vibe. He's a real
Yosemite Sam.
Yes. Without him being
fully Yosemite. Yeah.
So I thought it was a really fun issue. It's such a, like I said, fun, really easy to understand elevator pitch, and fun, and does kind of pull out that nostalgia, at least for me, that I have for just Looney Tunes in general, and those kind of the merging of worlds. I think there's some fun things that you can pull, and it seemed to really translate into comics.
Absolutely.
Which was fun.
The cliffhanger that they leave you on is definitely a good one, because I wanted to read more. I was like, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to see their version of Toontown. Like, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And then so those ones are like very like nostalgia heavy, I feel like. And then there were two I just wanted to briefly talk about, because personally I loved the books and I felt like it tied in with the theme. The Batman First Night, issue number 2 comes out this week. Issue number 1 sold out at the stores like week 1, even though we went pretty big. It's got a really good creative team. Dan Jurgens is writing, Mike Perkins is doing interior art, and always a treat when Mike Perkins is doing interior art on a book. But this one is kind of set in the late 30s, like 1939, and so Batman has just become Batman. I love that they go all in and they give him the purple gloves that he has in his first appearance in Detective Comics. Like, he's in his OG 1930s costume. And it's a really like set in 1939 in like real America, you know, they're talking about Hitler and the Nazis coming to power overseas and like just getting out of the Depression and really setting the scene historically. And Batman in this book is just a guy, very much like he is in his OG stuff. He is like swinging around on like an actual like piece of rope, you know, he's just punching people. And there's some kind of like mystical elements in that first issue where like there's maybe undead zombies murdering people.
Nice.
But it still feels super grounded.
Yeah.
And I don't know, do you like old movies at all, like black and whites? Like
absolutely.
I am a huge fan of like, especially like the comedies, like the screwball comedies from like late 30s, early 40s. But I feel like they capture the tone of like 1940s like pulpy detective stories.
Yeah, film noir.
Yes, very noir. And then, you know, like this Hollywood starlet comes out in the first issue and she's like talking like a Billy Wilder character where she's
Mae
like
West.
Yeah, very like moxie, giving a lot of like,
come up and sing me sometime.
Oh, why aren't you filming my movie anymore? Get to it, rich boy. We need to get these cameras a rolling.
Cute.
You know?
I love it.
So that first issue really gripped me. So the second issue came out. I haven't read the second one out, but that's out this week. And if you missed the first issue, we did reorder a ton of the second prints, so you will be able to come and grab this book. But it's one of those oversized like DC Black Label books. It really lends itself to Mike Perkins's art, and it's really fun. I was like, you could do a whole line of these books of like Batman in the 40s and like historically like really capture it, and I would read all of these. You know, like they're super fun. And then my shameless plug, because we push this hard at the stores. The trade paperback comes out this week. And again, kind of nostalgia, kind of pulpy. It is The Enfield Gang Massacre from Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips. And if you like cowboy books or cowboy westerns, if you are a fan of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, this is basically like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid comic. It is incredible. So if you like cowboy movies, this is a straight up like 70s cowboy movie as a book.
Nice.
Jacob Phillips' art is incredible. And also Chris Condon puts together these awesome playlists on Spotify for every like volume of comic he does. So it has a super sick Spotify podcast playlist. Sorry.
Yeah, like a soundtrack to each issue.
Yes.
That's really cool.
So, huge fan. Go check it out. If I didn't catch you in the store and yell at you about buying this, or maybe you were trade waiting, like the trade is out this week and I could do a whole episode. Chris, Jacob, if you want to just gab about your love, I assume, for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That was a movie I loved as a kid.
Yeah.
Yes, very into cowboys. So, hence,
I was going to say, you've got the very Western shirt today. So.
Yes. Yeah, definitely pick it up. It's just really good. It's just a straight up Western. And even the way Jacob Phillips draws it, it's very like wide panels, very cinematic, very like capturing the feel of like an old Western movie. And it's just a great story. Great read. Speaking of great reads.
Yeah.
This is one. What'd you think?
Deadpool
1. Cody Ziegler and Rohei Antonio drawing this.
Oh my gosh, I enjoyed it so much. I literally opened up to my favorite joke, which was the Chainsaw Man reference.
I am not versed in the Chainsaw Man, so I was like, I hope Britni liked this.
Yes,
one.
As soon as he said, "Have you ever seen Chainsaw Man?" and then like he did the hand symbol, I was like, amazing. What
does it mean?
Chef's kiss. So it's based off of, so the character is named Aki. He has a deal with like a fox demon. So that's how he summons it. That's like his summoning symbol, and then like
and then Deadpool's crazy dog daughter.
Yeah.
I get it.
yeah.
Okay.
So he was summoning his daughter.
okay.
Basically. Okay. So yeah, no, I mean, amazing, super, super funny, already really great references. I've already seen that reference like circulating on social media because people are like, amazing, because Chainsaw Man was like really popular when it came out as an anime. It's been popular in the manga, but like recently they've done the anime, super popular. People are mind blown about this.
Have you ever read any Deadpool comics before?
So I have read I can't say the
It's no
specific
worries.
era, but it was quite a few years ago.
Sure.
I picked up like
Dead president stuff, maybe?
It was the one that I specifically remember having was the one where there's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex and he's like in the air, midair, and that's what the cover is.
I think it's from like that Brian Posehn era from like when I was in college. But yes. Okay.
So I did read that.
Okay.
But other than that, my like knowledge of Deadpool is strictly like the movies and then whatever you see in like pop culture, social media type jokes.
Yeah. So again, I don't know if this is embarrassing or like a flex. I've read so much Deadpool, probably at least some of every run.
Nice.
When I was in like middle school, junior high, like I read comics by going to the library, and for whatever reason, like the teen section was super well stocked in Deadpool. So I just read a crap ton of Deadpool comics.
Nice.
And obviously I did the interview at NC Comic Con with Alyssa, so I of course read Alyssa Wong's great Deadpool run. So this felt very different to me than a lot of Deadpool I'd read, and I was pretty surprised. It's definitely like a different tone. Like it's still funny, like you said. Like
still funny, still making the quips and the jokes, but this is definitely more like Wade Wilson is down on his luck.
Yeah, so like, you know, at the end of Alyssa's run, Alyssa's run is very much he's like head over heels with the scientist, and kind of off panel, I guess they broke up. So he's dealing with this breakup, and his internal monologue that we read is almost like which is funny because the first page, like even the title page, you have him breaking the fourth wall and like talking about the credits, and he's like, who are these people? So I'm like, okay, like classic Deadpool. But then you get his inner monologue, and it almost feels very like a private detective, like down on his luck inner monologue, which I haven't seen with Deadpool before, but still interspersed with the jokes.
Right. Yeah. I definitely feel like I liked that element of bringing that into Deadpool because, you know, he's always just so not serious. You know, he's jokey the whole time, and even if he feels like emotion, he's like, no, I gotta push it down with humor. Yeah. But in this one, you really do feel like the emotion coming off of him. He really is down on his luck, and he's trying to get his mindset into what do I do with my life now.
Right. Dadpool is interesting too.
Dadpool.
Like he's had a daughter. He has a human daughter.
Yeah.
And obviously in this issue, which he references in this issue, but in this issue we're mostly focused on the symbiote dog daughter that he has running around.
Was born as a chest burster, which I thought was a good touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a fun dynamic to see. Him running around with like his little partner in crime.
Yeah.
Still trying to kill people as he does. You know, he's a merc. And you know, we kind of leave the issue on a cliffhanger. We get introduced to a new villain, seems like he's magic.
Yeah, runes. Speaking in runes, you don't know what he's talking about.
Which, you know, is cool because like last story arc, Alyssa's was very like a lot of body horror. It dealt a lot with like symbiote stuff. So this one going into the realm of like magic and that kind of stuff. Different from the last run, but I like that Cody really kind of kept with continuity, like incorporated a lot of Alyssa's story. Sometimes when a writer takes over a book, it's really easy if you have a story for Deadpool to just ignore everything that came before.
Yeah, especially with Deadpool, I feel like, because he's so easily like, oh, remember that thing that happened?
He's like, I rewrote that. I erased that page.
Right.
Exactly. But I like that Cody like kept, one, because Alyssa's run was so good, but two, just because like if you're a fan and if you're trying to follow, it's kind of annoying sometimes when like a story you like all of a sudden like doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I haven't read any of the other Deadpools except for that one a long time ago, but I do feel like the other good thing is that even though he does contain those continuation elements from Alyssa, you can still go in reading it having not read Alyssa's and understand the gist. Yeah. You know, Deadpool. But I think that since he's bringing elements of Alyssa's story in, it's also going to inspire people to go back
and read it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was very intrigued by this first issue. It and not like in a good way. Like I said, it was, having read so much Deadpool, this felt very different, but also at the same time had the core elements of the character.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Just slightly different take. And honestly, you know, Deadpool's gimmick can get a little stale.
Yeah,
so
I feel like
probably
this
good.
is a refresher. It's like a very refreshing Deadpool element, and I like that.
And we kind of get that with the movies. Like, Reynolds' movies has kind of gotten, and now that he's got his family and everything, it's gotten a little bit more heartfelt as that series
It's touching on that emotion. Yeah.
So, wow. I mean, one, that's just a lot out this week that we talked about, and Deadpool from last week was really good. I mean, and now, you know, quick hits on, like, what's coming out.
Yeah.
Fire
away.
The Boy Wonder #1 is on FOC this week. That's a new DC book about Damian Wayne. Have you read anything with him? Do you like Damian? He's very, like, hit or miss characters. You either love him or you hate him.
I'm indifferent because I haven't read enough.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I was of the camp that I hated Damian until I read Grant Morrison's run with the character, and where Nightwing becomes Batman. Batman's dead for a little bit. So Dick takes the mantle and Damian is his Robin. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I like this dynamic.
Yeah.
But this is kind of like they're bringing in Junie Ba, who's got a really cartoonist style, very, like, stylized sense of art. Like, he's mostly done independent stuff aside from some brief stuff on Turtles. Like, he did this great Image book called Monkey Meat that is just off the wall bananas. Just shoot me.
Anyway.
Just kill me. But they're letting him kind of do what he wants with a Damian Wayne story, and it's supposed to feel like a fairy tale, which is kind of cool because, I mean, he's got that, like, demon blood in him, right? He's, like, Talia al Ghul's son. So he's, like, trying to be a good guy, but he has this, like, lineage that makes him very different than the other Robins.
Yeah.
So it's kind of about him finding his place amongst all this legacy. I mean, like, being, like, what number Robin is he? 4? It's like the 4, right?
There's so many Robins.
Like, and all these guys are, like, all these great heroes, and he comes kind of in with a chip on his shoulder, very different. He's also the only one blood related, so there's, like, a lot on his shoulders, and him kind of trying to find his place as the new Robin and become the Robin that he wants to be.
Yeah.
So that's what it's kind of, I'm really excited to see how they make it feel like a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Junie Ba's art is so good. If you haven't seen our exclusive, we did a exclusive for Transformers #1 with him drawing Optimus.
Ooh.
And I feel like if you like Daniel Warren Johnson's art, it's not exactly the same. It's a little bit more stylized even, but it has that kind of same energy and, like, does action really well and movement really well.
Oh, yeah.
So if you like that, I think give Boy Wonder a try. Then there is Jorge Corona. We talked about a little bit with Transformers. They've got a new book out with Scotty Young writing from Image. It's Ain't No Grave #1, which is another kind of Western.
Yeah.
Girl gunslinger. She gives up her life of being a gunslinger because she falls in love, has a kid, but she gets dragged back in. You know, very, very typical cowboy story. You know, as soon as you're out, you got to come back in for whatever reason.
Yep.
So I'm excited about that. They worked together on the book Middle West for Image, and they did the horror book that has a long name that I'm going to butcher if I try to say it. The only thing you can see in the dark, you can't love me in the dark. Our producer is laughing at me. We'll put the title in the description. I read only a few. I didn't read the whole thing on that one, but it was good. I liked Middle West a lot too. They really work well together. I feel like Jorge Corona has a similar art style to Scotty, which works well because Scotty is an artist who's writing, so it feels like they blend well together.
Yeah.
Then Crocodile Black #1.
That one seemed ominous,
edgy. Right? Edgy.
Yeah.
Like, centered on these crocodile boots. That's by Philip K. Johnson, friend of the pod. Not really, but he's friend of the store.
Oh, well, that's good.
We could have him on the pod maybe one day. We should. You know him from Action Comics and a ton of really great DC stuff. He does a lot of stuff at Marvel too. But it's his new, like, original book at Boom. That's kind of like a crime book.
Yeah.
It was very, like, they didn't give you a lot.
Not in the synopsis. And I remember reading it and being like, I mean, it seems really interesting, but it's also very mysterious.
Yeah, so I don't have a firm pitch on that one for you. Crime book, Philip Kennedy Johnson. This kind of like drifter seems to like turn to crime.
And
like,
he can't stop thinking about these black crocodile boots that he's wearing on the art.
As someone who has fake snakeskin boots, I get it.
Sometimes you just really think about those crocodile and snakeskin boots.
I think about mine. I only wore it one time for the movie premiere that we're in, Repchild.
And do you ever just find yourself periodically throughout, weeks just being like, snakeskin
yes, but what I'm usually thinking is like, I wish I was cool enough to pull these off,
and
not
like an
at a
everyday.
movie. Yeah, how do I wear? You got to tell me after the pod.
Yeah,
how I'm supposed to wear snakeskin boots.
You got to edge it up.
Stylish. With like, what do I wear? Like, I need skinny black jeans and my snakeskin boots.
Pretty much. Like get yourself an all black outfit. Pull basically, if you're gonna have snakeskin boots, pull like a Johnny Cash style
Man in Black.
Man in Black.
Do I get a gun? Do I go out and buy a gun? Because I've been thinking about that.
Absolutely.
Just for style purposes.
If it makes you feel good, if it makes you feel powerful.
We are in North Carolina, guys, so I think I can just run outside real quick and say it's for an outfit, sir. And they're like, here's 2.
The good thing about your snakeskin boots, though, is that you can go full cowboy if you want to. Get yourself a hat.
Yeah, listen, go full cowboy. I have an armada of bolo ties at home. Multiple Western shirts.
Tie. I mean, listen, it sounds like you have.
And I have a hat signed by the cowboy from the YMCA band.
You got a whole coordination right there.
Yeah.
Just rock it one of these days.
All right. Okay. Maybe next podcast. What in tarnation? If we get an Enfield Gang Massacre special.
Yes.
You know what? I will go full cowboy, and we'll have my Village People signed cowboy hats.
Amazing. I still have the cowboy hat I got when I did Barbie, so I'll wear that.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited. So, Chris,
let us
Jacob,
know.
Let us know.
We'd love to hang out with you.
And then Doom #1. I am so excited about.
Yeah.
It's written by Jonathan Hickman, art by Sanford Green, which he's put some previews up on his Instagram. Go check it out if you don't follow Sanford. Pretty local, lives in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. It's just so good. It's just so good. I'm a sucker. I like some digital art, but I'm a sucker when I can see the pencils and the inks and I can see that someone drew this on paper.
Oh, yeah.
Which it'd be very funny if Sanford's like, this is digital.
Digital art. I don't know what you're
it's
talking
like,
about.
you don't see.
Never do a podcast again.
But looks really good. And are you excited for the new Fantastic Four movie?
Yeah. I mean, so
it was very soft, yeah.
I feel, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Listen, they've had so many chances, and
the first one
was fine.
Okay.
The first one was fine.
The casting was fine. I
liked
the casting.
Chris Evans as the Human Torch. He was fun.
I don't know the actor's name, but I felt like the Thing was very well cast.
He was. He did a good job. Jessica Alba did a great job. I mean, they all did well. They all did well. Mm-hmm. Doug Jones, I think, was Silver Surfer, who he's one of my favorite actors because he does like creature makeup acting.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
So he's in like all of the Guillermo del Toro movies.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I love him. He's a great actor.
So you love that second movie. That's like, you love the Silver Surfer. You love how they did Galactus with the cloud.
Oh, yeah. It was all my favorite thing. Sure.
Okay.
No. I thought they were good. They weren't like, they didn't hit perfectly for me.
Sure.
After that, it's sort of.
Yeah, well, yeah, we haven't really seen them since, and they were gone from the comics for so long.
Yeah.
Because of rights issues, really. But they brought FF back into the comics a few years ago, and we were all like, okay, they're doing a movie soon. So I'm excited. I'm not a huge FF fan as much as I love Jack Kirby's like everything else. I hate Mr. Fantastic. I just don't like him.
Yeah.
I don't. I think
I'm not a good person.
I don't know. I read too much Silver Age FF, and like that has just colored my interpretation of the character.
Yeah.
But Doom is a badass villain.
Very cool villain.
I'm excited to see Doom.
Yeah.
I love Doom. he's just like, he's so villainy. I mean, but like ridiculously over the top, between the outfit and he's Latveria and
he's like performative villainy,
yes,
for sure.
Like, and I there's a lot of joke appearances with Doom, like Squirrel Girl's first appearance, she battles Doom with like a legion of squirrels. Like, I love that issue.
Amazing.
Like, he's so goofy. But I'm excited. I'm excited to get all Doom, and it's written by Hickman with incredible art by Sanford Green. Like that is one I'm super stoked on. That's up for FOC. So, a lot of good books. I feel like a lot of. Oh, well, back to the question.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's the question?
The question is
nostalgia.
Nostalgia. Can they
still be good books?
Can they still be good books if
they're clearly, listen. They didn't put like Hercules, someone didn't just say I've got a really good Hercules book. We know Dynamite was like they got the rights to Hercules and they're like the time is right to capitalize on people our age is like love for Hercules.
Love for nostalgia.
But can you write a good book if that's how the book starts, really?
Right. I think it's tough because as a person who loves nostalgia, it clouds my judgment on it, because objectively
like, it got me.
It could be horrible, but I'm also like, oh yes, but the feeling of being a kid again is just too nice.
I feel like at the start of this, because like I had to catch up on Transformers before I was nowhere near ready for number 7. I've read the first 2 and I really liked them, and I was like, oh, but again, I don't have that love for Transformers that was making me pick it up.
Right.
And so then I caught up and I was like, oh my god, now this is gonna be like top of my to read stack every week. So I feel like that kind of proved that you can. Like I read the letters columns too for all the Transformers issues, and you had all these like hardcore Transformers fans like going deep in the paint with the Transformers knowledge and being like, when are you going to see this character, and will this character do this thing with this character? And I'm like, I don't know what any of this means.
These are just words.
But that's their core audience for this book originally was those guys who like love Transformers and can pull that kind of stuff out of their head.
Yeah.
But I'm someone who does not have any of that. Again, my point of reference is Shia LaBeouf blinking a lot because he touched the cube.
Right.
So
I think if you have a good enough story, you can make anything good. Like we're talking about Deadpool feeling very refreshing. Deadpool has been done and done and done and done. But if you bring a refreshing touch to it, even if you're going in to read Deadpool, you're still like, oh, I like that this is kind of a different side of him,
Yeah.
And I feel it's the same for the Transformers book. You go into it, even if you are a Transformers fan, and you're like, I want to go because I want to see these specific characters. You see the story and you see what they're trying to tell within this world. It's different.
What I'm really excited about is we have a staff member at one of my stores, 2 staff members who are very Transformers obsessed. One that is like when this was announced, he was like, well, I edit the Transformers wiki. So I'm very excited for him to listen to this base level talk about the comic and just be shaking his head and be like, how did Sienna not invite me to be on this podcast? The Transformers special? I edit the wiki. But I feel like if we're recommending it,
right,
and we're not wiki editors,
listen,
maybe it packs a more powerful punch of a recommendation.
I want to say yes, but I also feel like the argument can be said in the opposite direction, where they're like, you don't know enough, and you're therefore easily amused.
Stop talking about Linkin Park. That has nothing to do with the robots. The Allspark, like, if you didn't cry watching Optimus die in the original movie, you don't have an opinion.
Megan Fox is not Optimus Prime.
She is not she does not transform.
She is not
a
robot of any kind.
What car would she turn into? What car would she turn into?
I was gonna say, wait, that's a really good question.
Lambo?
She would turn into something
speedy.
Oh, this is
that sounds well.
This is gonna sound lecherous. I was gonna say curvy and sporty.
Well, at least you didn't immediately accuse Megan Fox of being a fast woman. Something speedy. No, I don't know. Something stylish is really
something stylish.
Yeah.
Something curvy. She's beautiful. So it's a beautiful car.
I've gotten that before, A few people have said I look
curvy?
that I look like what's her name? MGK's wife.
People have said that you look like Megan Fox?
Oh, is that her name? I guess I've gotten that a couple times.
Are you the person
I'm doing the Love is
Netflix? Yeah,
Love is Blind.
Yeah.
So So what would you transform? What do you think would be your what's your
My
spirit
transformer?
transformer?
Oh,
What do you transform into?
what would I transform
I'm a dune
into?
buggy for sure.
I would probably be annoyingly like a crotch rocket motorcycle, like Japanese style,
okay.
very speedy. I wouldn't be a Harley Davidson.
That's not what I would be.
I would be like a little motorcycle.
I'd be like the spider buggy, like a dune buggy that's kind of tricked out to look cool, whatever's cool for like a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Because like when I was designing, when I would say what my dream car was, I would describe like the most ridiculous thing. I'd say I wanted a cherry red Mustang convertible. Hydraulics. I wanted hydraulics real bad.
Oh.
So maybe I'd be a dune buggy with some spider buggy, hydraulics.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do those on buggies. I would transform into that
idea.
because I'd be bumping sometimes.
I'm like the worst person to talk cars with. I'm like,
Oh, this is me too. I'm like, hydraulics. This is based off of Pimp My Ride. My child. I'm nostalgic for watching that.
Nostalgic for Pimp My Ride.
Pimp My Ride and Cribs.
You would welcome to my crib. Yeah, you would have the what did they put?
Spinning rims. I always wanted spinning rims
The
too.
giant screen TV in the back with
Sure.
like the subwoofers.
I want a hood ornament. I'm a spider buggy and I have a hood ornament of something.
Well, I would be. Like I said, I would be obnoxious. I would be like one of those little Japanese motorcycles, but I would have like
Speedy.
cat decals.
Okay, okay.
It would be very
Like cyberpunk cat.
cyberpunk
like pink.
cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say pig?
Pink?
Oh,
I don't know. That's what
I thought
I
you
was.
said pig. I was like,
Maybe.
Wait a second.
Megan.
No, mine would be like purple.
Now, if Megan Fox, if you are listening to this, feel free to shoot us an email at podcasts@ultimatecomics.com.
Come hang out with us.
And just like if you have what your actual Transformer would be.
Yeah.
We didn't watch all the archival interview footage, and honestly, probably don't want to.
And then
Poor Megan Fox was terrorized.
And then we promptly get an email that's like a restraining
A cease
order.
and desist, like
please
never mention this
go
again.
near.
From her and the Love is Blind girl, who's like, you know what? I'm litigating you.
Oh man.
But yeah, it was so yeah, a lot of good stuff to pick up. I mean, honestly, I'm picking up all these, but go pick up the Enfield Gang Massacre for the love of God. But all these books, highly recommend. And Transformers #7, if you can jump on singles here if you're a trade waiter. You definitely do want to read the trade before this, though. You need to read the first 6 issues. It's a good jumping on point, but there is a lot of stuff happens in that first story arc you're going to want to catch up on. And maybe you're like me who thought Soundwave was an Autobot. We're going to get canceled for that.
We can't all be perfect, Sienna.
All right. But yeah, we'll catch you next week.
Yeah.
Definitely, what do you do? Subscribe? What are we supposed to tell them?
You're going to like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell to be notified of when we will be posting another episode. And then also leave us some comments, send us some emails.
Send us some emails. We got a couple emails. We got to figure out in the Transformers issues I was reading, like they have like, it used to be a very gimmicky thing, like you would name your letters column, and they were trying to like figure out what the Transformers letter column would be. So we got to think up some names for what the Ultimate Podcast, like what is that called? If we had a letters column, we need to do that because I think that'd be fun.
Sienna's priorities are really straight here.
Well, you were just talking about koozies earlier, about how we needed Ultimate Podcast koozies. So
I was.
All right. Well, you liked the idea.
I love the idea. We will definitely. It is only episode 2, and Sienna and I are already merchandising ourselves.
We are.
We'll have stuff in store for you guys
when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Speedy indeed. But anyway, guys, thanks so much again for hanging out with us. Make sure you listen to us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, and again, let us know some stuff that you guys might want to hear us talk about.
Yeah, we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
I'm out.